Good afternoon, everyone. Today's topic of my presentation is Sri Aurobindo, the revolutionary visionary. So this is my research question hypothesis. So we will try to look Sri Aurobindo's integration of his distinct spiritual nationalism and his revolutionary activities during his younger days. And this we will see and analyze through his distinct approach spiritual violence and his distinct political Vedantism and his other thoughts related to his vision, broader vision of inclusiveness. So we know Sri Aurobindo as a thinker and a poet, and we also study his poetry in our syllabus. And many people only know Sri Aurobindo as a mystic figure, as a, we can say, saint figure in South. But he, in a way, neglect his earlier days, his youthful days, when he was a fierce nationalistic, radical revolutionary during his time of when he was known as Aurobindo Ghosh. So in this presentation, we will see how he changed from Aurobindo Ghosh to become Sri Aurobindo. And while he developed his distinct philosophy, which was focused on achieving a divine life on earth through spiritual growth and evaluation. His father was an aristocrat, and Aurobindo was born in an aristocracy, and his father was much anglicized in his thoughts. And for that reason, his father wanted his children, and especially Aurobindo, to study in Western thoughts and Western philosophy. And that's why his father enrolled him in a convent school, and subsequently he was also enrolled in the University of Cambridge. And from there only, he started his revolutionary ideas and set in motion that. And from 1902 to 1910, Aurobindo was actively involved in the fight to liberate India from British rule. And during this time, after he came into India in 1893, he already started his revolutionary ideas in India. And that by and large, he has started this revolution by his fervent writings. And he extensively written on politics in his younger days. In his later days, he writes philosophical writings, numerous texts like Synthesis of Yoga, The Life Divine, and various poetries, plays, and other things. So let us see Aurobindo's early revolution lives. As I have said that his father wanted him to raise in a Western culture, and by return, he was very much Western in thought, and he didn't know anything about Indian languages, Indian vernacular languages, and by and large, he didn't aware about Indian literature. So when he came into India in 1893, his first work he do is that he studied Indian philosophical text and Indian literature related to Upanishads, Vedantas, and all the things. And from there, he also read extensively about Indian literature, and he also got influenced by Bankim Chandra's song Vande Mataram. And by being influenced by him, Sri Aurobindo developed a feeling of radical nationalism. We know that at that time, when Bengal was considered as a hub of Indian Renaissance, and Indian Renaissance itself started from revolutionaries from Bengal. If we see father of Indian Renaissance was considered Raja Ram Mohan Roy, who is also hailed from Bengal, and subsequently Sri Aurobindo and Rabindranath Tagore. These are all the major figures who contributed to India's independence, who are all came from Bengal, most of them. And Aurobindo, after came to India, he became aware about the subjugation and marginalization of Indian peoples by foreign rule and under the colonial rule. And from there only, he started his radical group, the name Indian Myjins, and he and his brother Binoy Bhushan also joined the secret society, Lotus and Daggers. And many people say that he also developed underground terrorist network to fight against the colonial rules. So this was about him, and through his fervent writing, of course, Sri Aurobindo inspired the people with courage and moral strength. And he also contributed to various journals and political articles to Vande Mataram, Karma Yogi, and Indu Prakash. So this is quote by Sri Aurobindo, in which we can see his extremist view of nationalism. He says that nationalism refuses to accept law as a fetish or peace and security as an aim in themselves. He, in a way, criticized these abstract things like law and peace and security, that nationalism should be focused on only, according to him, nationalism's only aim should be to recognize its freedom, power, and well being of India. And these all earlier his nationalistic view and his radical thinking led him to arrest and his imprisonment. Dr. Karan Singh, in one of his articles, regarded Aurobindo Ghosh as a prophet of Indian nationalism. He believed that Indian nationalism itself was started from Aurobindo because he is the one of the pioneer figure from where the subsequent nationalists also drew and take inspiration from him. And he, in a way, parts the life of Aurobindo in two parts. First one from 1893 up until his arrest and imprisonment in 1908. He was very much active in politics, and he was that time was not as a Sri Aurobindo, but he was Aurobindo Ghosh. And in second phase from 1910 up until his death, he took the spiritual turn after his imprisonment. And Aurobindo also didn't want him to be considered as an extremist because his thoughts are somewhere more deep than radical extremists. Sri Aurobindo did, and also he advocated the spiritual violence and violence in general in the freedom struggle. He believed that under the colonial rule, one cannot achieve the moral elevatedness in Indian society. And in 1908, Aurobindo was charged in the Alipur bomb case. However, he was not convicted, but for almost 1 year he was in trial, and this trial and for almost 1 year he was also in imprisonment. And during his imprisonment, he underwent his spiritual experiences and all the things. And from there onwards, after release from his imprisonment, he established his ashram, Aurobindo Ashram in Pondicherry, and also put himself into self-exile and into spiritual expeditions. So his transformation from political to spiritual revolutionary. As I have said, that Aurobindo's release from imprisonment led his view way to the spiritual mystic. And it is not so that this underwent of spiritualism came instantly. It was way back in 1893 when he first came to India. He started experiencing the calm and vacant infinite spiritual experiences. And he take advice from Vishnu Bhaskar Lele, and he advised him that you should start practice yoga. And from thereafter, he indulged himself in a yoga and developed his distinct philosophy of integral yoga. And it was in his 1908 imprisonment, what Aurobindo called as his ashram was. He had a massive spiritual experiences, and by his letter to his friends and his memoirs, we find that how Sri Aurobindo underwent this spiritual journey. And he says that I am the nation and its uprising, and I am Vasudeva. Here he gives the earlier glimpses that of his spiritual nationalism. And after that, he lives in a Pondicherry for 40 years up until his death. So what is spiritual nationalism? Well, spiritual nationalism is a non-conventional idea which was developed distinctly by Sri Aurobindo. And this is non-conventional in a way that before Aurobindo, no one has thought about the combining of spiritual and nationalism, because spirituality is something associated with spiritual values, and it is distinct from socio-political milieu of the people and society in large. But he think in both the manner that he also wanted Indian society to be elevated in its morality. So it is in this way non-conventional, and also this way he moved out from the Western-centric nationalism also. And he focused on combining spiritual values of Eastern religion and social and political aspects of nationalism to inspire greater awareness and unity among the people. Like Radhakrishnan, he also advocated the fusion of Eastern spiritual values and Western philosophical thought. As I've said, that he was studied in the Western philosophy, and most of the philosophical thoughts he borrowed from the Western philosophy. But one thing he noted that Western philosophy is lacked in its moral. So he wanted, but he was uh, fascinated by its political aspect. So he infused political aspect of Western and a spiritual aspect of Eastern society. And he was also advocated of the Purna Swaraj by fighting against the Britishers. And this distinct philosophy of him is known as his political Vedantism, a vision of integral nationalism whose aim is not only political or economical, but also the development in large of the Indian society. What was his role in freedom struggle? His earliest role in the freedom struggle was his fervent writings and his articles in which he criticized the Congress at that time for having the liberal views, and he didn't want India to be just a hand of British colony, and he wanted Purna Swaraj, and he also criticized various methods of the neoliberalism, we can say that, and neocolonialism in the new lamps for olds. And Alex Wolfers, who is a scholar at the University of Indian Renaissance studies, he says that Aurobindo is a revolutionary sannyasi. And in modern context, if we see, many people tries to portray Aurobindo's image in radicalist right-wing movements, and they try to further their political agenda on the shoulders of Aurobindo. But it is far different from what Aurobindo's vision. Aurobindo's vision was more inclusive and was more open-minded than the current right-wing politicals, who are in a way believes in rigid and who are rigid and conservatives, and who follows the rules of communal violence and communal violence. Yes. And what is the legacy of Sri Aurobindo? Alex Wolfer says that the non-violence, even the non-violence of Gandhi, significantly borrowed from Aurobindo's transgressive politics. It is Sri Aurobindo that I have said he was the earliest pioneer of the Indian nationalism. It was only that after his imprisonment and went into the Pondicherry ashram, he withdrawn himself from the political movements, and that is why he is not much remembered as a nationalistic, such as Rabindranath Tagore is remembered, or Gandhiji is remembered, or Subhash Chandra Bose is remembered. He is in a way hidden in the shadows of these prominent writers, and he also shares the Tagore's poetic expression of Indian spirit. He also shares Radhakrishnan's philosophical take on intellectual Indian traditions, and he also has the non-violent social political expression and inclusiveness of Gandhiji also. So he is in a way combination and fusion of all these things. And according to Alex Wolfers, his legacy will be continue to influence Indian politics at this time, and at that time it was also there. And these also led to the Aurobindo's ashram Aurobindo's ashram established in 1926, and Aurobindo. So this is Aurobindo's ashram and Aurobindo. So these are the ashrams, we can say that, where people from similar creed and regardless of their caste or their religion came together, and they are in a way disciple of Sri Aurobindo. So this is it. And to conclude my presentation, Aurobindo's radical nationalism inspired courage and unity during India's freedom struggle, and it is we can say it is still relevant and influence Indian politics also. So these are my references, and thank you.
So my question is, Akash, given the challenges of modern governance and global politics, do you think Sri Aurobindo's visionary ideas offer practical solutions, or do you think they are primarily idealistic?
Yes. In my point of view, that his ideas were inclusive, were very much inclusive, and he thought about society in general and morality and people of the society in general. So in modern governance and global politics, there are various challenges in front of us, like global pandemics and what we can say environmental crisis. So there are many movements we currently see that people came together, and as I also said, that non-violence as an idea also Gandhiji borrowed from him also. So people are coming together and protest against government, and you are might having seen that protest, silent protest, and all that things. So in a way, they are not idealistic, but they can be provide practical situation in modern times also.
Akash, my question is going to how does Aurobindo's idea of revolution address the moral and ethical dimensions of political struggle?
Yes, as I have said, that in his initial life, when he was yet a radical thinker, Aurobindo believed in violence, and he said that it is our duty assigned by God that we have to take our nation back by means of violence. So violence is still there, but later on he developed his idea of spiritual violence, which encompasses the moral aspects and ethical dimension of political struggle also. So yes, that is what I can say. Thank you.